What's up YouTube, Capital G here, checking out some brand new cards from the structure deck Lair of Darkness, and oh my fucking goodness, these cards are actually incredible. I think Konami has outdone themselves with this structure deck, and it is looking incredibly appealing. I have not said this about a structure deck in a very long time, but I actually think I'm going to be picking this up. A little bit is, some of these cyber structure decks have just kind of sucked in my opinion, or they haven't got me very hyped since we haven't really had any structure decks for like new archetypes that are like amazing, I guess, since Dino Masters Fury. But this looks like it is going to be the real deal, and a lot of people might be thinking, oh, Cap G, it's going to be a long time before we get this structure deck. That is actually not correct, guys. This structure deck comes out in 9 weeks in the TCG. It comes out April 20th, blaze it. So we're going to be able to play this, maybe this format actually. That is crazy to think about, that these cards are just getting revealed and we might actually be able to play them this format. It's crazy, and these cards look good. I'm going to go ahead and break down all 5 cards. I think that you will not be disappointed. So let's go ahead and start off with the boss monster. This is Darkest Diabolos, and this guy is one hell of a card. Lair, or Lord of the Lair. He's a Dark Dragon. He's level 8, 3000 attack, 2000 defense. So the stat line is really good. He's an excellent trade-in target. You'll understand why in a second, but this is obviously a good dragon on paper, just stat-wise. You can only use his first and third effect once per turn. Those are hard once per turns. Effect number 1, if a dark monster or monsters you control is tributed while this card is in your hand or in the graveyard, you can special summon this card. So when I first heard that, I was like, oh, okay, well, it doesn't seem like the easiest thing because viruses and stuff like that, but this guy can be summoned from the graveyard, which is actually ridiculous. Think of something like Grapha and how much of a pain that card is, but believe me, this summoning condition gets way easier when you read the other cards. Effect number 2, your opponent cannot tribute this card, so fuck you kaijus, nor target it with card effects. That's the part that made me look at him and say, okay, so basically no targeting, so fuck you Masterpiece and all you other targeting cards out there like Mind Control and whatnot. Also, you can't tribute it, so bye-bye kaijus. Effect number 3, you can tribute one dark monster. This includes himself, by the way. Make your opponent choose one card from their hand and either place it on the top or the bottom of their deck. So I like that. It obviously gets rid of their hand. It's a hard once per turn. If it wasn't, I think that it would be absolutely crazy, and you probably see plays where your opponent like takes out their you'd see people like taking out their opponent's entire opening hand, and that wouldn't be any fun. But this seems like a really good effect, and again, he can actually tribute himself, which seems very, very good because you can summon him from his first effect from the graveyard. So even when this guy's not on the field, it's a potential threat to come back on the field very easily. The second card is actually very interesting as well. This is Lilith, Lady of Lament. This is a Dark Fiend, level 3, 2000 attack and 0 defense. I believe that all the monsters revealed outside of Diabolos, I think they all have 0 defense. I'm not sure, is it Reoccurring Nightmare that might actually put monsters that are dark that have 0 defense? I have to look up that card again, Reoccurring Nightmare. You can only use the second effect of this card once per turn. That's the hard once per turn. The original attack of this normal summon card becomes 1000. Okay, so technically it's a crush card target. Oh, you know what? Actually, holy moly, I just realized that. That must be why they want this card to go down to 1000, because if it's 2000 attack, that means you contribute it for certain viruses if you set this card, but then if you normal summon it, you can actually use the old school crush card virus, which actually, the new crush card virus, or, new erratic crush card virus is kind of shitty, but it might not be that shitty anymore. Second effect, quick effect. You can tribute one dark monster, and it can be this card, or it can be another card on your field or whatever. Which actually, well, I'm not going to spoil that when we get to the field spell. Reveal 3 normal trap cards in your deck. Have your opponent randomly pick one to set on your field, and if they do, shuffle the rest or shuffle the other cards into your deck. So this is really interesting with Lilith, because I read her and I was like, you know what? You don't even have to run her in this deck. I mean, she seems pretty good for being able to get the virus cards out of your deck, but doesn't this seem like this could work in like Altergeist and Paleozoic and like Trap Tricks and stuff? You just normal summon this card, and then you get like a trap hole from your deck, or you just get like a random Paleo card, you get an Altergeist protocol and just set it on your field. I just thought about that. Like, seems very, very, like, it seems like it has potential to be played or splashed in like a whole bunch of other decks, but I think it's a really good card, and I think the second time, or just now, I've understood why they want this card, why they want this card to cut itself down to 1000. I think it has to do with being a crush card target. and being a target for other viruses simultaneously. I didn't quite understand that the first time I read it, but I think I finally got it now. Then we have Arima, King of Wickedness. This is a Dark Fiend level 4, 1700 attack, 0 defense, and you can only use the second effect as the hard once per turn. It says you can discard this card, add 1 Lair of Darkness from your deck to your hand. Lair of Darkness is the field spell. That's the next card we're going to talk about, so this guy can actually search the new field spell in the deck. Now, the second effect of this card I think is really, really good, and I think it makes summoning Diabolos like stupidly easy. It says you can tribute 1 dark monster, draw 1 card. If you tributed a dark monster other than this card to activate this effect, you can add 1 dark monster with 2000 or more defense from your deck to your hand instead of drawing. So basically, if you tribute like another dark monster that you have on the field, you can add Diabolos straight from your deck to your hand. Now the thing is, because Diabolos' effect to summon is an if effect, correct me if I'm wrong, but shouldn't he work like, you know how if you Waverize, you can search out Astrograph Sorcerer, and then Astrograph Sorcerer knows that stuff has been blown up on the field because I guess he's like an if. I would imagine that Diabolos is the same way, where if you tribute another dark monster on the field and you search out your Diabolos because he has 2000 defense, you should be able to summon him right after searching. I could be wrong about that, but I believe that it should work. And overall, I think this card is amazing because if you have Diabolos in your graveyard, you can just summon this, you can tribute it, even if there's nothing else on the field, you draw a card, and then you summon Diabolos from your graveyard. You can attack directly, and then you could possibly use Diabolos' effect to get rid of something in your opponent's hand as well. This seems like an automatic 3 of. This is a really, really good card. Then we have the field spell. The field spell is pretty damn good as well. The field spell really is what allows for this deck to absolutely do fucking stupid things. And really what I was thinking of when I saw Lilith, I was like, hey, I might splash that in my Altergeist deck, but this made me think that like Dark Altergeist can actually be a thing. This is Lair of Darkness, field spell. All face-up monsters on the field become Dark Attribute, which is pretty okay. It's like, all right, I don't really think that that's that big of a deal until you read the second effect. Once per turn, if you would tribute a monster or monsters to activate a card effect, you can tribute 1 dark monster your opponent controls as if you controlled it. That is the part that makes me think, oh my god, that is going to be like that's so many crazy shenanigans. I mean, think about if you have Lilith. You can normal summon her, you tribute your opponent's monster, then you get traps from your deck to your field. Or, I mean, I think it's even better if you have the Arima, because then you can just like normal summon him, you can tribute one of your opponent's monsters, you can search Diabolos, and then you can summon it. But I do think still being able to tribute your opponent's monsters is nuts. Now, the third effect says once per turn, during the end phase, special summon as many shadow tokens. They're Fiend Dark level 3, 1000 attack, 1000 defense. So damn, even the tokens are crush card targets. To the turn player's field in defense position as possible, up to the number of monsters that were tributed this turn while this card was face up. So if you tribute a bunch of cards during your turn, you'll get a bunch of tokens. And if your opponent, like it does work with your opponent too, so you have to be kind of careful with that. If your opponent tribute summons, they're playing Monarchs or something like that, they might use those tokens for their benefit. But overall, I think that Lair of Darkness seems like a really, really fun card. Anytime I get to use my opponent's cards as if they were my cards, like I think that that is absolutely nuts. And then there's the new virus card. We knew we were getting a virus card, and when I first read this card, I was like, it sucked. And then I started reading it more, and I was like, oh my god, it's amazing. So this is Grinning Grave Virus, excuse me, normal trap card. Tribute 1 dark monster with 3000 or less attack, so basically all the cards we just read. Your opponent destroys 1 card from their hand or deck equal to every 500 attack that monster had. Okay, it seems fair, or seems easy enough. If you tribute like a really big monster, they'll have to destroy a bunch of cards in their deck. Now, when I first heard that, I was like, I don't know about that, man. If I'm playing against like Burning Abyss, I don't want them blowing up Seer and Graph and, you know, Farfa and shit from their deck, because then they'll just activate those effects and they'll just wreck me. But this is where the card becomes very smart. If you tributed a monster with 2000 or more attack to activate this card, you can check all cards your opponent draws until the end of their 3rd turn after this card's activation. Destroy all drawn monsters, which is absolutely crazy. This seems like the new crush card virus, to be honest. All monsters destroyed by this card's effect cannot activate their effects during the turn that they were destroyed. That's the part that saves this card, in my opinion, because at first I thought, well, if Pendulum Editions like blow up their own cards in deck, won't things like Wisdom Eye excuse me, not Wisdom Eye, but won't things like Purple Poison Magician, won't things like, what's the other one? Black Fang Magician, won't those things activate? Won't things like Seer, Graph, and Scarm activate? But this card says that they cannot actually activate, and if you activate this against like Pendulum Magicians, where they run all of those monsters, man, all of those cards that, you know, are monsters and spells because they're pendulums, think about that. You could just be like, your opponent could literally have no draw phase for like 3 straight turns and have to blow up a bunch of cards in their deck. Keep in mind, with Lair of Darkness, you can tribute their monsters as well. If your opponent has any big monster on the field, you get to use their monster as if it was your monster. So I think this stuff is actually very impressive, and I actually cannot wait to mess around with this. I think I might maybe make a dark Altergeist deck. Something like that seems like it could be potentially kind of fun. So you guys let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already. Turn on that notification bell for daily videos.